Welcome to this exciting video that will take us on an exciting and scary tour of the world of Chinese nuclear weapons. Nuclear weapons are one of the most dangerous weapons ever invented in history. And many countries have nuclear power, including China. China has a prominent role in the world as a nuclear state, possessing an arsenal of nuclear weapons that can inflict mass destruction on any region of the Earth's surface. Through this video, we will learn about the history of the Chinese nuclear weapon, and learn how to design and manufacture this weapon that terrifies everyone. We will delve into the depths of this terrifying world, discovering exciting details about China's nuclear weapon, and how it could affect all of our lives. Stay tuned to this exciting tour of the world of Chinese nuclear weapons. China ranks third in the world in terms of the number of nuclear warheads, ranging from 200 to 350 warheads, and the U.S. Department of Defense predicted that the accelerated rate of Chinese nuclear expansion could enable Beijing to acquire up to 700 warheads by 2027. And it is likely that China intends to have at least 1,000 warheads by 2030, exceeding the rate and size predicted by the U.S. Department of Defense. The Pentagon report notes the construction of the infrastructure necessary to support this expansion of power, including its ability to produce and separate plutonium with fast-generation reactors and reprocessing facilities, with the construction of hundreds of new silos for intercontinental missiles. China has a wide range of medium and intercontinental ballistic missile systems, has built at least 250 silos for intercontinental ballistic missiles, and is developing hypersonic systems. In terms of air systems, China has a range of bombers that can transport and launch cruise missiles, and has the largest number of ships and submarines in the world, including the Jin 094 nuclear-powered submarines that can carry and launch up to 12 JL-02 ballistic missiles, each equipped with a nuclear warhead. China is also developing its next generation of Jin-class 096 submarines and JL-03 submarine-launched ballistic missiles. And the main advantage of nuclear-powered submarines over conventional systems is that they are more stealthy and can be deployed for much longer periods. So it will be difficult for the United States to locate and track nuclear weapons in such submarines, and they can be deployed relatively quickly to launch retaliatory strikes. Developing smart warfare methods. China is currently fully committed to developing what is known as smart warfare methods or future military methods, which are those methods that rely on advanced technological techniques, especially artificial intelligence techniques. And Beijing has granted the Chinese Academy of Military Sciences a mandate to ensure that this is achieved through the integration of the military and civilian sectors, to benefit from the advanced technologies of private sector companies in the military industries. In this regard, China is trying to develop the speed of hypersonic missiles to 5 times the speed of sound, to surpass the speeds of intercontinental ballistic missiles, which makes it more difficult to detect them in flight and makes them one of the most important advanced Chinese air defense systems in countering any U.S. violations of its neighboring and direct territorial borders in the future. The People's Liberation Army of China aims to remove all U.S. military bases and aircraft carriers in the Indo-Pacific region between the Indo-Pacific Oceans, on both sides of the Taiwan Strait and the South and East China Sea, while emphasizing the deterrent power of China's nuclear arsenal and its nuclear ability to repel all U.S. attacks on mainland China. This comes in light of the belief of the U.S. military and strategists that hitting mainland Chinese bases nuclearly at the outbreak of any conflict is important, believing that the superiority of the U.S. nuclear power will deter China from responding or responding in kind. But the military expectations of the U.S. and Chinese sides suggest that the use of nuclear weapons by either side, or both Chinese and U.S. sides, could cause rather than prevent a full-scale war. China's strategy to build a global army will push for a tripolar nuclear system, AFP, a global tripolar nuclear system. Since the end of World War II, the world has been in a position of equilibrium and bilateral nuclear deterrence between the United States and the former Soviet Union. But China's quest to rise to the status of nuclear superpower would represent a reversal in the global bipolar nuclear balance that lasted about 73 years, especially in light of China's refusal to engage in strategic arms control talks. China's strategy to build a global military by 2049 with the expansion of its nuclear arsenal will push for a tripolar nuclear system by breaking through the nuclear superiority barrier of the current poles of the United States and Russia, cracking the nuclear deterrence strategy that has existed since the Cold War. China's current trend of shifting from the status of a secondary nuclear state to the third global nuclear competitor along with Washington and Moscow is an unprecedented turning point in the balance of global nuclear power. Satellite images showed the construction of 120 ballistic missile silos on the edge of the Gobi Desert and another 110 missile silos under construction in Hami, Xinjiang province, which will give China the ability to nearly quadruple its arsenal by 1,000 nuclear weapons in 2030. And will make China far superior to any other nuclear power, except Russia and the United States. The head of the U.S. Defense Intelligence Agency, William Burns, said that Russian and Chinese nuclear capabilities are a problem for the strategic leadership in the United States. The world is witnessing one of the largest shifts in global power and geostrategy. Beijing is expanding its nuclear force much faster than U.S. officials predicted just a year ago, highlighting a vast and accelerating buildup of military capabilities designed to enable China to keep pace with or surpass U.S. global power by mid-century. The United States believes, based on several reports issued by the Pentagon, that the number of Chinese nuclear warheads could rise to 700 within 6 years, and may reach 1,000 by 2030, and America also indicates the intention of the People's Liberation Army to challenge it in all areas of air, land, sea, space and cyberspace warfare. The United States is therefore wary of China's military ambitions, so the Pentagon's repeated promises focus more on confronting China and its growing danger. Reports from the Pentagon have suggested that the Chinese may have already created what is known as the nuclear triad, a combination of land, sea and air missiles that the United States and Russia have had for decades. Reports also confirmed that China has begun building at least 3 new missile fields cumulatively containing hundreds of underground silos from which intercontinental ballistic missiles can be launched. The specter of war in the arms race. Observers believe that the modernization of China's nuclear arsenal will affect the U.S. military superiority in the Indo-Pacific region and the effectiveness of the U.S. nuclear umbrella, threatening to spark a regional nuclear arms race, especially by Washington's allies, such as India, Japan, Taiwan and South Korea, and will increase the risk of a conventional war on Taiwan or its escalation into a nuclear conflict. The potential for a clash between China and the United States exists as a result of repeated American interference in Chinese affairs, whether directly inside China by fueling protests in Hong Kong or encouraging Muslim separatists in Xinjiang or Taiwan, or in its regional surroundings, whether by stirring up problems in the South or East China Sea or entering into alliances such as the AUKUS alliance, which includes the United States, the United Kingdom and Australia, and the Quad Quadrilateral Security Dialogue Group, which includes the United States, Australia, India and Japan, and other U.S. moves aimed primarily at suffocating and besieging China, obstructing its progress and undermining its expanding international relations, thus prolonging the United States' leadership of the international system as the world's only superpower. Despite China's attempts to make the transformation of the international system and change its leadership peaceful and political, the possibility of any U.S.-Chinese or East-West conflict or clash is strongly possible, despite the great economic interdependence and overlap between the two sides, which undoubtedly pushes the Chinese leadership to always emphasize the importance of innovation and military technology as a matter of life and death, which explains the great rapprochement between Beijing and Moscow in recent years, and raising the level of relations between them to the level of comprehensive strategic partnership and the signing of the strategic cooperation document between the two countries, which causes great concern to the West in general and the United States in particular. Despite this, China, through a number of its officials, including Fu Zeng, Director General of the Department of Arms Control of the Chinese Foreign Ministry, has always stressed that the 5 nuclear states, China, France, Russia, Britain and the United States, should abandon their policies of nuclear deterrence based on the first use of nuclear weapons, commit themselves to not mutually using nuclear weapons, that nuclear war cannot and must never be won, and that such weapons must serve for defensive purposes, deterring aggression and preventing war. The 5 nuclear powers, which are permanent members of the Security Council, issued a rare joint statement pledging to work to prevent the spread of nuclear weapons in the world and prevent a conflict in which these weapons are used. Chinese military spokesman Tan Kefi said, China has always adhered to the path of peaceful development and defense military policy, has always been a builder of world peace, contributed to global development, and defended world order. He stressed that the development of Chinese military power is aimed at safeguarding national sovereignty, security, and development interests. Tan Kefei urged the United States to abandon the Cold War mentality, correct its misconception of China, take an objective look at national defense policy, modernize the armed forces of the People's Republic of China, stop making false statements and publishing relevant reports, and take real action to return the relationship between the armed forces of the two countries to the path of healthy and sustainable development. Tan Kefei stressed China's commitment to the nuclear defense strategy, noting that the recent U.S. government policy of modernizing the nuclear triad and increasing tactical weapons lowers the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons, as the United States of America actively speculates about China's modernization of its nuclear forces, and makes absurd assumptions. Although the most important thing in essence is for the United States to reconsider its policy on nuclear weapons. The United States of America has the largest nuclear arsenal in the world, continues to develop its nuclear triad, actively develops plans to deploy tactical nuclear weapons in the foreground, lowers the threshold for the use of nuclear weapons, and deploys nuclear weapons through trilateral security agreements between it and Britain and Australia that make them every day a greater source of nuclear conflict. Tan Kefei stressed that China firmly adheres to its nuclear defense strategy, and always defends the fact that the People's Republic of China will not be the first to use nuclear weapons under any circumstances, and that its nuclear forces will remain at the minimum necessary to ensure national security. Subscribe to the channel to receive everything new.